Hi, Dav here, and today we have a new episode in the art review series. And today we'll be checking out the work of Yohann Schepacz, a French concept artist, or sorry, concept slash illustrator based in Tokyo. Now, this is the artist that I actually mentioned in the Lucia Hsiang episode. Essentially, the guy who draws with a hard round brush, right? And that had like the tigers or the cat sort of in the background, or as a kind of like a main figure, along with some guy in the front to sort of match uh the sort of beast in the background. Let me just zoom in here. Super cool. And it's kind of a challenging thing because you can't blend with, say, a mixer brush or some kind of smudge tool. And you're also not building up your gradations via soft brushes or a gradient tool. You're all doing this with through a segmented way. For example, for this sort of transition, right? You have this. Oh, let me just change the color of this. Maybe yellow. Okay, right. You have this latter part. It sort of gets darker as you go out, but it's done in this sort of. I think for that video, that Lucia Hsiang video, I called it the cutout filter or the cutout style or effect or approach. So I'm gonna call that or call this the same thing or refer to that term as well because it does look like the cutout filter that you can use in Photoshop. And in a way, you're sort of not distracted because you're sort of stuck in terms of the technique you're using, right? Like you don't have to waste time thinking about brush variety and such like that. Like you're just focused on like the main thing, right? Um, but even for this painting or for these sets of illustrations, there is like a hierarchy when it comes to the brushes. Even though it's just one brush, look at how some brushes are super thin, right? They get super detailed, and some brush strokes rather are left as these super like big marks. And I think you can create that sort of focus. Like the bigger they are, and you contrast those big strokes with say smaller strokes. That's more common in the, for example, for this cat or for this guy. You can see it in the face, in the armor, right? Seeing the contrast of big strokes against small strokes, you can create a sense of focus in your work. And even though it's like a one sort of shot look, you still have to think about the composition. Like, how do you make this interesting, right? Like, how do you chunk out the thing in the back, the thing in the front? And I think you need to be a little bit aware with some. I mean, composition is like it encompasses all like art fields, right? But I think graphic design is where it's sort of used the most, like for these types of shots, because composition can. What am I saying? My point is, it's not like an environment shot. Let me just go to Johann's work. I don't think he does a lot of environment concepts. I think most of it is like a one shot kind of thing. This one's cool. Oh shit! Excuse me. Maybe Lixin Yin. I recommend his work. But for him, he does use opacity for his. Whenever he does use the hard round brush, he will use a hard round brush, but it has opacity, so he can sort of build up the paint layer by layer or stroke by stroke. But this for Yohann, he's a bit more direct with it, or opaque rather. Let me just find my notes here. So I'm gonna write Lixin Yin, and Lucia Hsiang, Lucia Hsiang. Right? Pretty cool. Oh, maybe Minium, because I think Minium also has a bunch of environments along with their character art stuff. And I think for their environments, they do like using the uh, it doesn't have as much line work compared to their character, like human designs. So I think they're a good match. Let me just write their name down. Min Yum. Min Yum. I mean, look at this guy, right? Ooh. And you'll notice how most of the, like, it gets a lot finer around the face. Makes sense because that's where we usually look at. But look at how it's sort of like an alternating thing. You have light, dark, light, dark, light, right? There's sort of like a rhythm to the friggin' piece. Um, Even if the shots are just like a straight on kind of thing, I think you could learn quite a bit of composition because you need to learn how to make this kind of shot interesting. And if you have like the same composition for each of these things, it's gonna look boring. But in the case of Yohann, even if it's like a one shot thing, they just know where to place the characters um, without it looking repetitive. Repetitive? Jesus, right? It's all like you're seeing things. It's like a fashion sort of shot, you know? Uh, but there's always something interesting about it. And I've noticed this for a lot of successful artists. Like they usually stick to, like they have something, a certain format that they stick to, and within that format, that's where they will diversify their sort of like everything else. But they will have something that's fixed. In the case of Yohann, it's going to be this one perspective shot. I mean, yeah, they have other stuff here. As you go further back, it does get more varied. Uh, but I'm more interested in these sorts of figures or these concepts, right? Like, they will diversify the composition, number one, but also, the brush size, right? That's another one, but also the hue variety is a lot more obvious in their work. I want to see how they use blacks. I do see some black areas here. I'm not sure if it's like a, yeah, they use it sparingly. It's there, but it's not as uh like it doesn't take up a big amount of like space. So it's like around 5%. Like you can see it here a little bit. You know what I mean? But again, it doesn't take up like the whole or like a huge chunk of space. Okay, I guess that helps with the contrast a bit. Now for their lightest light, I think they're also using white because some artists recommend avoid using like pure black and pure white in your pieces, but um, it depends on your style. And I think for Yohann, I think they try to include like pretty much uh the full ends of this color spectrum, right? Or value spectrum rather, because it's like white against black. And yeah, I think that really helps with the contrast as well. I mean, some of it is because of the actual like subject matter. For example, this dragon head thing is kind of white, so it kind of makes sense. But for this beast or this big cat thing in the back, I think they like their work being highly exposed. For those of you who know some photography, or just look at photos that have high exposure. That's kind of what I see a little bit in the work of Johann. He likes the sort of bright effect. Now these ones seem a little more done. I'm thinking of another artist. but I can't seem to remember their name. Oh, it's bothering me. But oh, you know what? Rua Jia. How about Rua Jia? I think Rua Jia for these types of, because Rua Jia likes going into detail, and they do like that opaque look in their work. So it kind of reminds me of like these ones, especially like the more polished ones, the more rendered ones. Arcane, League of Legends. Ooh, look at that armor. Right? As you zoom in, I love seeing the brushstrokes here. And the fact that it's just a round brush, it's so impressive. Oh, let me just write, what's their name again? Rua Jia. Rua Jia. Go. And again, you see so many colors involved here, like the full hue spectrum, like blues, pinks, some greens. Like even though you know this is gold, right? It's some kind of the armor set is sort gold, but when you zoom in, you do see some greens in there. And that's something you have to sort of see, uh, because it's gonna help you when you create your own stuff. Because if you just use like the actual colors that you think is there and not the colors that you actually see, your work is gonna end up becoming kind of boring. I'm not saying it won't, like using basic colors won't work, but if you have some hue variety in your work, I think it's just gonna make your art pop out even more. It's gonna make it look more or less dull. Um, for example, even for this set here, everything is desaturated. Obviously, it's in shadow, right? Everything is desaturated. But look at how there's greens, there's blues, there's reds. There's a little bit of yellow here. Um, some blues again. Uh, and I recommend, because I think I learned how to see more of these when I started to, draw from reference or paint from references, but I avoided using the color picker. I think that's what helped me sort of get better at seeing these sorts of different values and hues. Because I did like a short series on, I think it's in the art session series where I drew or painted some characters from the Black Myth Wukong game. And you can still see it in the art session sort of playlist way back. But if you watch me paint, that's me painting without using the color picker, or not. I'm not color picking from the reference photo. So I think that really helped me to improve my color sort of um, pattern noticing. Wait, did I explore everything here? Oh, another guy maybe would be Rintaro something. RintaroKomori. Uh, Rintaro. He does a lot of like Gundam. Komori. Let me just check the spelling. Um, Now for this kind of approach, I think it helps if you at least layer it maybe, because I think you're gonna have a it doesn't even have to be much. Like have one layer for this character, have one layer for this character, have one layer for this like line in the back, and then you have like the background layer for the actual background, and maybe a layer here for the foreground or for this ground sort of area. Uh, because I think to achieve this edge over here, I mean, you could do like you could paint over it, but I think it's much more efficient if you just erase it on its own layer, right? So in this way, you can have more control of your silhouettes without having to repaint everything. Uh, and it's easy to like adjust and move things around, right? And it's not like you're managing. It's not like you're managing so many things. Excuse me. As for this guy's work, especially for this series, it's usually like one guy with like some kind of animal in the background, and then the actual background. Well, the beast isn't actually like further back. It's like just behind the actual character. Um, you know what? Maybe Sparth, because almost all of these shots are portrait, and Sparth also has a thing where he likes to fix like most of his figures. Whenever Sparth does his environments, like the vast majority of his illustrations or paintings, he has some kind of design here, like maybe a ship, some kind of city in the back, and then there's some kind of foreground element here, and then some guy to indicate some scale. It's basically this is the formula or format, the main format of Sparth, and then he just varies it up per painting. In the case of Yohann, it's usually like a super close up thing where the actual human figure is like it takes up a huge chunk of uh, the the canvas space. Um, Rare to say Sparth's small human figure, right? What about the colors? Yeah, it has hue variety, but what about it? There's almost always some kind of accent color, maybe. I mean, here it's going to be the reds. Wait, wait, wait. This one is a primary color set. For those of you who see it, it's blue, yellow, and red. That's like a basic, the most. That's the first set of colors that you kind of learn from school. Um, Same thing here. It's a red or a bit of orange, yellow, and blue. Same thing here. In a way, they just sort of vary up which part gets more attention. For example, for this one, the accent color or the minimal thing here is the yellow. Yellow, some yellow, right? And then the medium sort of thing, or the main thing rather, is gonna be, or the focus color is gonna be this powerful red, and then everything else is gonna be on the blue side. And for this one, it doesn't even have red. The only reds I see are these sorts of like lines here, but it's just a oh shit. Maybe there's some parts of the clouds. It does have like a red tint to it, but it's mainly like a blue, a fight between blue and yellow. Blue is the more powerful, like it takes up most of the space, and the yellow maybe is like the accent sort of thing. Um, and I think a good neutral color is always going to be some kind of gray or just a black, or in this case, a white, to help balance out these. If you have like so many colors, it helps if you add like a neutral color, like a white, a black, or a gray, or even some kind of earth tone. Um, Red for the armor. It's kind of like the accent thing. Blue in the background, and yellow everything else. Even the lion has some yellow tint to it. Some reflected lighting, but it's blue in this case. Pretty cool, right? And it's nice to like spread out the colors. For example, you have this blue. Let me just change the color here. Uh, you have this. Oh, maybe a red so you can see it more. You have this blue in the fuck. You have this blue in the back, right? But you have like patches of blues here, although they're way lighter, right? They're more tinted, and then you have some patches of blue here. So it's nice to sort of spread things out. Like have one space or one big spot for blue, and then maybe it's super saturated like this one, and then you spread it out kind of like this, and it sort of fades out even more. So I think these types of illustrations are so fun because you can, kind of plan things out, and you kind of have to think about how you can make something like this interesting. with the limitations you have. I mean, you only have like this one portrait view, and you're sort of like mapping out, sort of as a kind of like a building, like you're building some kind of floor plan as to where certain parts will be. So I think Yohann is a good guy, artist to study composition, color, and just painting because they're very good with the whole hard round brush thing. Um, and they can maximize those three things, right? Composition, color, and this hard round brush painting approach. Super cool. And yeah, I think their favorite thing will have to be like the red, yellow, blue sort of combination. I mean, even just looking at their feed, you do see the blues a lot, the reds and yellows, right? Even for their arcane stuff or League of Legends work, it's still the same thing: red, blue, and yellow. And this is part of an artist's sort of style. It's like the colors you tend to pick, right? It's not just the actual drawing technique, but it's the colors you tend to choose, how contrasted your paintings usually are, um, the design sort of motifs you tend to use, the shape language you tend to gravitate towards. Like it's all part of your style, right? Like within your style, you have like your technique style, you have your color style, you have your composition style. So yeah, it's nice to know what these things are. And and if you feel like there's something missing in your work, you're probably missing something in one of those categories. Maybe it's color, maybe it's values, maybe it's your painting technique, maybe it's your composition. Um, you know what? Maybe I'll recommend also. I'm forgetting the guy's name. Let me just pause the video. I am back. So it's actually Zeen Chin, Zeen space Chin. So if you look at his work, he also uses like the same pastel esque colors. Um, so yeah, I think Johann is just a good example of how fundamentals matter. I mean, hard round brush, that's super basic, right? Primary colors, red, yellow, blue, super basic, and yet composition wise, it's usually. I mean, right now, let me just draw over this thing. It's some kind of triangle. This one is a bit more shifted, kind of here. It's like the same thing, but you just play with those three major things: composition, colors, brush or your brushwork. Even if they're like the most basic sort of composition, the triangle composition, the primary colors, red, yellow, blue, and the hard round brush. Right, hard round brush, primary colors, and the let's do the whole. There you go, and the triangle composition. Wow, pretty good video. Yep. Hopefully this episode helps in some way. I will link this page, by the way, in the description below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.